"I want to buy a dad," said the black girl to the store owner, but he was a billionaire. She was crying when she said it, both fists clenched, jaw locked so tight the words barely made it out. The store smelled like expensive wood polish and money. It was quiet inside, just the ticking of a giant glass clock above the register, and her breathing, shaky and small. The man behind the counter blinked. He looked out of place in his own store, too clean, too put together. Silver hair combed back, dark vest, tailored shirt. His name was etched in gold on a small plaque that read Henry A. Remington, proprietor. His eyes were like windows shut from the inside. "I'm serious," she said. "I got money. Or I will. You sell everything in here, right?" He didn't answer right away. He just studied her. Not like a person, but like a puzzle. She was 13, maybe 14. Skinny. Torn hoodie, dirty sneakers, curls frizzed out around her face like a halo gone wrong. Her lip was split, healing bad. One eye had the start of a yellow bruise. "You can't buy a father, kid," he said at last, voice cool. "That's not how it works. But you're the one who makes things work." He flinched. Just for a second. Barely more than a breath. But she saw it. Then something behind them crashed. A man's voice, raw and furious. "Where is she? Where's my daughter?" The billionaire turned, slow and calm. The girl's body went stiff. There were footsteps pounding from the back room, fast, heavy. She grabbed a brass cane from the nearest display stand and raised it like a weapon. "She asked you for help," the voice shouted again. "And you gave her hope. That makes this your fault." Now the girl was shaking. Her grip tightened. She was cornered between a billionaire who didn't believe her and a monster who claimed he owned her. "Mr. Remington," she whispered. "Are you gonna sell me a dad, or let him take me back?" And that's where we leave them. For now. 10 days earlier, 5:43 p.m., East Detroit. Nia waited until the church doors locked before she left the back steps. She had her phone in one hand, thumb hovering over the cracked screen. The case was old and green and missing its top edge. She carried it like something holy. She hadn't called anyone. There was no one to call. The pastor had given her a smile on her way out, kind, tired, not really looking. She wasn't even sure if he remembered her name. She only came here sometimes, mostly for the free bread on Saturdays or the phone chargers in the office. She didn't believe in God, but she liked the quiet. Her stomach growled. She ignored it. Walked down the block past the liquor store, past the graffitied bus stop where someone had crossed out the word hope and written lies in thick black marker. The house on Fuller Street was still there, like it always was. Peeling paint. Fence bent in. Her uncle's truck in the driveway, music thumping like fists on a wall. She didn't stop walking. She passed it. Turned left. Found the park. Sat on the swings. The wind was sharp for late May, and her hoodie didn't do much against it. Her hands were cold. She stuffed them into her pockets and counted under her breath. It was something she did when she felt like floating away. A way to stay real. 1, 2, 3. She made it to 28 before she heard the footsteps. She didn't look. Didn't have to. "You think you grown, huh?" he said. His voice slithered into her ear. It was soft. Too soft. She turned. He was standing just behind her, red jacket zipped to the neck, one hand holding a bottle, the other curled around a belt. "You run off again, you better pray you don't come back." Nia stood. She didn't run. Not this time. "I don't need to come back," she said, voice tight. "I'm gonna get my own family." He laughed. Then, just like that, he stopped. "Girl, nobody wants you." She walked past him. Didn't say anything else. But later that night, when the moon was high and her uncle's snores filled the house like thunder, Nia opened her phone and Googled the words. Where to buy a dad. She didn't expect real results. But one link stood out. Remington's Rare Goods and Acquisitions. Below it, a single tagline, "We find what matters most." That was the beginning. She showed up 2 days later. She took 2 buses and walked the last half-mile. The store sat on a hill outside town, behind a gate, surrounded by trees. It looked like it didn't belong in Michigan. Or anywhere, really. The windows were too clean. The bricks too red. There was no dust, no wear. Like it had been built yesterday. Inside, the air felt wrong. Still. Almost staged. She walked in and saw a watch that ticked backward. A glass sculpture that bent light into whispers. A snow globe with lightning instead of snow. But no customers. No clerk. Then he appeared. From behind a curtain, wearing a gray vest and a careful smile. "Good afternoon," he said. "You're quite young. You sell anything?" she asked. "Anything worth having." She stared him down. "Then I want to buy a dad." He didn't laugh. He only frowned. Slight. Measured. "Why?" "Because I don't have one. And I need one. For real." What kind? She blinked. What? There are many kinds. Stern. Kind. Distant. Protective. Affectionate. Successful. Broken. Funny. Cruel. Strong. Weak. Dead. Living. Lost. Found. Be clear about what you want, or you'll end up with something that hurts. I want one who stays. The man nodded slowly. Those are the rarest kind. Nia glanced around the room. Can you do it? It depends, he said. How much are you willing to pay? I got $6, she said, serious. And this. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a photo. Old. Creased. A picture of her mom, smiling in a hospital gown. Nia was in her arms, newborn, screaming. I don't want to end up like her, she said. The man took the photo. Examined it. His expression didn't change, but something about the room did. Like the shadows were listening. He set the picture down. Come back tomorrow, he said. Why? Because what you're asking for isn't an object. It's a gamble. And those take time. She hesitated. You really can do it? I didn't say that, he replied. But you believed I could. That counts for something. As she turned to leave, he called after her. Miss. She looked back. What's your name? Nia. He nodded once. Mine's Remington. And with that, the door shut behind her. She didn't hear the lock click, but it did. She didn't see the shadow move across the second-floor window, but it did. And she didn't know yet that someone had followed her to the store. But he had. And he wasn't going to let her go. Not again. The next morning, Nia woke up before the sun. Her body ached from the floor. She never slept in the bed anymore. Too many bad dreams in it. Too much noise from the room across the hall. On the floor, she could keep one eye on the door and one hand on the crowbar she hid beneath a pile of clothes. The house was quiet, just the hum of the fridge and the low crackle of static from the busted TV in the living room. Her uncle's door was shut. Good. She moved fast. She didn't eat, there wasn't anything to eat, anyway, but she brushed her teeth at the sink using the last bit of toothpaste and spat into a cracked bowl because the drain didn't work. Then she threw on her backpack and slipped out the back door. The sun was just climbing up when she stepped onto the street. She could feel its heat even through the cloudy sky. The buses weren't running on time, so she walked. It took over an hour. Her legs were already sore when she reached the gate. The store looked the same. Too perfect. The kind of place that made your eyes lie to you. The bricks looked hand-painted, like a movie set. The windows caught the light and twisted it in strange ways. She rang the bell beside the gate. A moment later, it opened without a sound. Inside, the path was lined with blue stone and trimmed hedges. The smell of lemon and lavender was faint in the air, unnatural, like it was hiding something worse. When she reached the big door, it opened before she could knock. Mr. Remington stood there in the same gray vest. His sleeves were rolled today, and he looked like he'd been awake all night. You came back, he said. You told me to. I also told you it was a gamble. I don't care. He held the door open. Then come inside. This time, Nia noticed the small things. The floorboards were too smooth, the rugs too bright. There were no dust motes in the sunbeams. It was like the store didn't believe in time. He led her to a side room she hadn't seen yesterday. It had no windows. One long table. A chair at each end. He motioned for her to sit. When she did, he placed a small wooden box between them. This, he said, is the beginning of the deal. Nia stared at the box. What's in it? Choice. He opened the lid. Inside were cards. Thick, old-looking. Each one had a name. No pictures. Just names and symbols she didn't recognize. She reached for one. He stopped her. No. Not yet. First, the rules. She sat back. You get to choose 3. No more. Each card calls someone, something, into your life. They are not men pretending to be fathers. They are fathers pretending to be men. Nia squinted at him. What does that mean? It means they'll feel real. Talk real. Love real. But they were made to be chosen. Not born to be here. You'll know that. Even if they don't. And one of them will stay? If you choose well. And if I choose wrong? Mr. Remington didn't smile. They'll still come. And they'll still love you. But that kind of love, when twisted, it's hard to put back. Nia swallowed. Okay. Let me see them. He pushed the box toward her. Slowly. Like handing over something alive. She reached in. The cards were warm. She pulled one. Then another. Then a third. The first said, Daniel, the builder. The second, Solomon, the soldier. The third, Malcolm, the teacher. She read them again. The names felt heavy. What happens now? She asked. They arrive. One each day. You'll spend time with them. Learn them. Then you choose. And the ones I don't pick? They'll go back. Will it hurt them? Yes. She looked up. Will it hurt me? Remington's face was unreadable. Almost always. That night, Nia didn't go home. She found an abandoned garage 3 blocks from the store and slept there. The floor smelled like oil and rust. She used her backpack as a pillow and kept a wrench in her hoodie pocket. At 7:02 the next morning, the first one came. She was walking back toward the gate when she saw him. He was waiting on the curb, arms folded. Tall. Black. Mid-30s maybe. Wore denim and boots and a soft-looking flannel. Beard a little wild. Hands big and nicked up, like they belonged to someone who fixed things without gloves. You must be Nia, he said. She didn't answer. I'm Daniel. She nodded. You're the builder. He smiled. Not too wide. Not fake. I build things that last. Or try to. They walked together. He didn't ask about her life. He asked about what she liked to do. What she wanted to learn. What she hated most in school. He told her he used to build bikes as a kid, then treehouses, then kitchens. Built my own crib when I was 17, he said. Didn't even have a baby. Just thought I might someday. They spent the day in the store's back garden. He carved a little box out of scrap wood. Let her hammer in the nails. She bent 3. He didn't laugh. I like him, she told Remington that night. He nodded. Don't decide yet. The next day, Solomon came. She felt him before she saw him. His voice was deep. Precise. His boots clicked like a clock. His jacket had metal stitched into the lining. I know your name, he said. I know your age. I know where you've been. I do not know what you need. Yet. Nia didn't like him at first. He was too still. Too sharp. But when a dog ran up to her on the sidewalk and she flinched, he stepped in front of her without thinking. Later, she asked, Did you ever lose someone? Yes, he said. My daughter. In another life. She didn't ask what that meant. But she watched him more carefully after that. Then came Malcolm. He wore a brown suit and old glasses. Carried a stack of books like they were part of his body. He didn't talk much at first. Just watched her, the way she watched people at school when she was deciding if they were safe. Then he asked, Do you read? A little. He handed her a book. The Fire Next Time. You don't have to understand all of it, he said. Just let it sit with you. That night, they read together in silence. She didn't understand half the words. But she felt them anyway. 3 days. 3 fathers. Remington asked the same thing at the end of each, which one? And each time, she said, I don't know yet. But now time was up. Tomorrow, she had to choose. And somewhere out there, her uncle had found the card she dropped. The one with the store's name. The one that said, We find what matters most. He was already on his way. And he was bringing something with him. Nia didn't sleep. Not really. She lay in the garage on her side, eyes open, watching shadows stretch across the cracked concrete floor. The wind outside made the metal walls groan. A storm was coming. She felt it in her chest. Tomorrow she had to pick one. Just one. Daniel had made her a wooden music box. He carved her name on it. It played a shaky, sweet version of Lean on Me. Solomon had left her a letter. A full page, written by hand, folded with care. She hadn't opened it yet. She was afraid of what it might make her feel. Malcolm had only said one thing when he left, the choice you make will shape who you become. Don't pick who you want today. Pick who you'll need 10 years from now. And then he walked away like he already knew he wasn't the one. She lay there for hours, thinking about all of them. About what it meant to choose. About what happened to the 2 she didn't pick. Remington hadn't explained that part. But she saw it in his eyes. They wouldn't just vanish. They'd break. At sunrise, she sat outside the store's gate with the music box in her lap and the letter unopened beside her. The wind had picked up. Leaves swirled around her shoes. Remington stepped outside just after 7. You're early, he said. I didn't sleep. He nodded. You've made your decision? She hesitated. Then, finally, I think so. Come in. They sat in the same side room. The wooden box was gone. The cards too. Tell me, he said. Nia took a breath. I picked Daniel. Remington's brow lifted slightly. Why? Because he doesn't look at me like I'm a problem to fix. He talks to me like I'm already someone. She ran a hand over the music box. And when I dropped a nail and started crying, he didn't ask why. He just kept building and let me come back when I was ready. That's rare, Remington said. Yeah. I know. He stood and reached for the phone on the wall. It was old, with a cord and a rotary dial. I'll call him. What happens to the others? She asked. Remington paused. They go back. But they remember. Nia's chest tightened. That sounds worse than forgetting. It is. He dialed. The sound echoed in the quiet. After a moment, he spoke softly into the phone. Yes. It's her choice. She's sure. A pause. We'll meet in the garden. He hung up. You have 1 hour, he said. 1 hour for what? To say goodbye to the others. Malcolm was waiting in the back garden. He stood near the old fountain, the book she hadn't finished still in his hand. You picked someone else, he said without turning. I'm sorry. You shouldn't be. She stepped closer. You were right, though. About the 10 years thing. He smiled faintly. So why didn't you choose me? Because I need someone now. I don't know if I'll make it 10 years without that. Malcolm nodded. He held out the book. She took it. I still think you're going to be something. Something better than what the world made you. I hope so. He touched her shoulder gently, then walked away without another word. Solomon came second. He stood in the hallway, arms crossed, back straight. When she stopped in front of him, he didn't speak. So she did. You scared me at first. He raised one brow. Only at first? She smiled, then wiped her eyes. You would have died for me. I know that. But I need someone who'll live for me instead. That made him pause. He stepped forward and held something out. A coin. Small. Worn. I carried this through 4 wars. It reminds me not to break. She took it, silent. You don't need a soldier, he said. You need a builder. Then he stepped back, gave her one last nod, and disappeared into the dark. She walked to the front of the store, where Daniel waited. He was sitting on the steps, hammer in his back pocket, sleeves rolled. You really picked me? He asked when she came close. I did. Why? You feel like home. Like the one I never had. Daniel looked down. That means more than you know. She sat next to him. So what happens now? He shrugged. We start building something. Together. For how long? He looked at her. For as long as it takes. But peace never lasts. Especially when you steal it. That night, Remington let Nia stay in the guest room upstairs. It was the softest bed she'd ever touched. She didn't sleep in it. She curled up on top of the blankets, still wearing her shoes. The music box sat beside her. The coin was in her pocket. Daniel sat outside the door. She heard his breathing, steady and low. It made her feel safer than she'd ever felt before. Until the doorbell rang. It was midnight. Too late for customers. Remington answered the door. Nia crept halfway down the stairs and peered through the railing. Her uncle stood on the porch. Not drunk. Not smiling. He wasn't alone. 2 men in black stood behind him. One had a briefcase. The other held a metal rod. This is private property, Remington said coldly. The uncle stepped forward. That girl in there? She's mine. And you stole her. She asked for help. I didn't ask what she asked for. Nia felt her stomach twist. Daniel was already at the bottom of the stairs, fists clenched. She's not yours, he said. Her uncle's smile came slowly, like it had to be peeled out of him. You think you're her father? What kind of man lets a kid run away in the first place? She didn't run from me. Remington's voice was sharp now. You're not welcome here. The uncle didn't care. He opened the briefcase. Inside were papers. A birth certificate. Legal documents. Custody rights. His signature. She's not yours either, he said. She's mine on paper. And I'm taking her back. Remington stared at the briefcase, face unreadable. And then, for the first time, Nia saw him falter. She stepped forward. Don't let him. But her uncle was already inside. The 2 men stepped through the door. One blocked Daniel. The other grabbed Nia's arm. You asked for a dad, her uncle growled, dragging her close. Well, wish granted. Daniel moved. Fast. He knocked the rod out of the man's hand and threw a punch that shook the walls. But the second man was faster. He grabbed Daniel from behind. Held him. And her uncle reached into his coat. And pulled out a match. I told you, he said, voice low and ugly, you run off again, you better pray you don't come back. He struck the match. The flame flared. And then. Everything exploded into light. The room filled with smoke. And Nia screamed. Remington lunged for her. But her uncle had already dragged her into the dark. And his last words were the worst thing she ever heard. You don't get to choose. Then the door slammed shut behind them. And the fire began to spread. Nia couldn't see. The smoke clawed down her throat. Her lungs burned. Her ears rang from the blast, but she knew one thing with terrifying clarity. She was in his grip again. Dragged. Like garbage. Like she didn't matter. Her feet kicked out, wild, useless. She hit a chair, then a wall, then nothing but dirt. Cold air slapped her face. They were outside. He didn't speak. Just kept pulling. Her hoodie twisted around her throat. She clawed at his wrist. Let go. Please, let go. But he didn't. Not until they reached the car. It was the same rust-colored truck. The same one from Fuller Street. The passenger door groaned open. He shoved her in. She hit the seat hard, shoulder first. Her elbow cracked against the window. Should have stayed quiet, he muttered, slamming the door shut behind her. You think you know what you want? You don't know nothing. Nia sat up fast, gasping. You set the store on fire. Damn right I did, he said, rounding the hood. Teach that rich bastard not to steal what ain't his. The engine roared to life. She lunged for the door. Locked. He saw. Smirked. She slammed her fist against the glass, once, twice, again. From inside the smoke, she thought she heard someone shout her name. Daniel? But the truck was already rolling down the hill. And she was gone. Back at the store, the fire was real, but it wasn't normal. It didn't consume. It searched. Remington stood at the center of it, one hand pressed against the wall, chanting in a language no one alive should know. The walls of his store shimmered. Groaned. Daniel stood at the edge, eyes red, fists torn from trying to punch through smoke and flame. She's gone, he shouted. They took her. She's still close, Remington said, voice flat. He can't hold her for long. Not after breaking the rules. Daniel turned to him. You told me this place was safe. It was. Until you were chosen. Then do something. Remington's eyes burned. You think this is a fairy tale, son? I don't control the world. I only make offers. Daniel looked toward the road. Then I'm going after her. You can't. You're not. But he was already gone, running into the smoke, straight toward the road. Remington let him go. He turned back to the fire. And whispered, one of you better bring her home. The truck sped through East Detroit, wheels rattling over cracked pavement. Nia sat low in the seat, trying not to shake. Her uncle's hand gripped the wheel so hard it creaked. He was muttering to himself. Rich freaks thinking they can make family out of thin air, he growled. You want a father? You had one. Me. I raised you when your mama ran off. She died, Nia whispered. He didn't respond. He turned the radio up. Static blared. The music didn't come in clear, it never did, but he didn't seem to care. He just needed noise. Something to bury the truth under. I'm not going back with you, she said. Don't care what you think. You got no say. I do. I chose someone else. He slammed the brakes. The truck screeched to a stop. Her head hit the dashboard. Then his hand was in her hair. Say that again. She bit down on her lip. Tasted blood. He yanked her closer. Say it again. Her voice was quiet. Steady. I chose Daniel. He's my dad now. His hand tightened. I will break him, he hissed. Then you'll see. He threw open the driver door and stepped out. She heard him open the truck bed. He was looking for something. She had seconds. She reached down, popped the glove box. A wrench. Old. Rusted. She took it. Held it tight. When he came back around. She swung. It hit his arm. Not hard enough to break anything. But enough to buy a second. She scrambled across the seat, yanked the door handle. It was still locked. He roared. Grabbed her by the ankle. You think you can leave me? And then. The windshield shattered. A blur of flannel and fists tore through the glass, grabbed Nia's arm, yanked her free. Daniel. Covered in soot. Bleeding from the cheek. Eyes on fire. You don't touch her, he growled. Her uncle charged. Daniel didn't flinch. The two of them crashed into the side of the truck. Metal screamed. Nia fell back into the grass, heart pounding. She couldn't see straight. Her uncle was fast, but Daniel had something he didn't. Purpose. Nia watched, breath caught, as Daniel pinned him down. This ain't your daughter, he said, voice low. Her uncle spat blood. She's no one's. She's broken. Daniel's fist hovered. But he didn't punch. Instead, he leaned in. No. You are. Then he stood. Nia ran to him. He opened his arms. She folded into them, shaking, holding on like if she let go, she'd vanish. You came, she whispered. Always. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone must have seen the smoke. Called it in. Daniel looked at her. We gotta go. They'll take me back. Not this time. He picked her up and ran. They didn't go back to the store. Not yet. Instead, Daniel took her to a place off the main roads, an empty warehouse, forgotten and quiet. He broke the lock like it was paper. Inside, it smelled like rain and rust. He made a fire in a barrel, wrapped her in his jacket, gave her half a protein bar from his pocket. She sat in silence, staring at the flames. Finally, she asked, what happens now? Daniel didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Now you decide what kind of life you want. And I help you build it. What if they come for me?" "They will," he said. "But they won't win." "You sure? I've got hammers." That made her smile. She leaned against him. Let herself breathe. And somewhere across town, Remington stood in the ashes of his broken store, holding the coin Solomon gave her. He turned it over once. Then dropped it into the fire. Behind him, the shadows stirred. Because something else had escaped when the store burned. Something older. And it wanted the girl, too. The warehouse stayed quiet through the night, but sleep didn't come easy. Nia lay on a stack of old canvas tarps, wrapped in Daniel's jacket, listening to every creak and drip. Daniel sat nearby with his back to the wall, head tipped forward. She wasn't sure if he was asleep or not. He didn't move much. Her ankle ached from where her uncle grabbed her. Her lip was swollen. But the worst pain was under her ribs, a cold, heavy pressure that hadn't left since the fire. Since she'd been pulled back into that man's grip. Daniel stirred. "You awake?" She turned her head. "Yeah." He shifted closer. "You okay?" "Not really." They sat in silence. Then Nia whispered, "Why did you come after me?" He didn't answer at first. Then, "Because you asked me to stay. That was part of the deal, right?" "No," his voice was soft. "That part was a choice." She blinked fast. Her throat felt tight. "You got any regrets?" she asked. He looked into the fire. Not one. She wanted to believe him. But the truth was, choosing him had broken something. She could feel it. Like the world was off balance now. The sky too quiet. The night too still. "What if I made the wrong choice?" she whispered. He turned to her. "You didn't." And even if she didn't believe it yet, it helped to hear. By morning, the warehouse was flooded with gray light. Nia sat cross-legged near the fire, eating the last half of the protein bar. Daniel had stepped outside to look around. She held the coin Solomon gave her between her fingers. Cold. Heavy. She hadn't told Daniel about the voice she heard last night. Right after the sirens faded. Right before she fell asleep. A whisper. Soft. Male. Familiar in a way that made her skin crawl. "You're not done yet, Nia." She thought it was a dream. Now she wasn't so sure. Daniel came back inside. "Bad news." "What?" He pointed through a crack in the rusted door. Across the lot, 2 black SUVs were parked at the end of the alley. No sirens. No lights. Men in dark suits stood near them, scanning the buildings. "They're not cops," he said. "Too quiet. Too clean." "Remington?" "Maybe. Or your uncle hired people." "He doesn't have that kind of money." Daniel didn't respond. Nia stood. "We need to go." "Yeah," he said. "But not just yet." He knelt by his duffel bag and pulled out a hammer, a coil of thin wire, and a small, strange object Nia hadn't seen before, round and silver with black markings etched into its surface. "What's that?" He looked up. "Insurance." Nia narrowed her eyes. "You're not just a builder, are you?" He smiled, but there was no humor in it. "I was made to be whatever you needed. Right now I need someone who knows how to break out." Then we're on the same page. They waited until the men started circling the building. One moved to the left entrance, one toward the back. Daniel whispered, "You remember that drain pipe we passed outside?" "Yeah. You're small enough to fit through it." "What about you?" "I'll buy you time." Nia's heart slammed against her ribs. "No. I'm not leaving you." He pressed the music box into her hands. "You already chose me. That means I have to make sure you make it to the end." She didn't move. He cupped her face. "Listen. I was made from your need. I don't get scared. I don't quit. I just build. So let me build a way out." Her eyes stung. Then she nodded. Daniel ran to the front. Nia bolted for the pipe. She climbed fast, scraping her elbows and knees. She hit the ground outside, rolled into a ditch, and crawled through weeds until she hit the sidewalk. And then she ran. She didn't stop. Not until she reached the edge of the old rail yard and ducked behind a rusted-out boxcar. She looked back. No one. She opened the music box. The song was off-key now, damaged from the truck fight. But it still played. She held it to her chest and cried. Back at the warehouse, Daniel stood at the center of the floor, arms raised. "You sure you want her?" he said aloud. "You sure you want to take her back?" No one answered. So he reached into his pocket. And pressed the silver object. A ripple moved through the air. The men in suits paused. Then everything changed. The walls of the warehouse bent. Warped. The light dimmed. Time shivered. The object wasn't from this world. Neither was Daniel. Not completely. Nia stayed hidden for hours. When the sun finally began to set, she pulled out her phone. Still no service. No messages. She looked down at the coin in her palm. Solomon's. She turned it over. There was a number etched in the metal. Tiny. Barely there. She didn't remember seeing it before. She punched it into the keypad. It rang once. Then a voice picked up. "I told you," it said. "You weren't done yet." She froze. "Who is this?" "You think you made a choice. You didn't. You were allowed to. For now." "Is this Solomon?" "No. He's gone." Her breath hitched. "What do you want?" "Just to remind you. Your father isn't the only one who came when you called." "What does that mean?" "You'll understand soon." Then the line went dead. Far across town, Remington stood in a new building, smaller, darker. His store had burned to the bones. But the heart of it, the contract, was still intact. He stared into a mirror. His reflection blinked. Then spoke in his voice. She was supposed to be protected. Remington didn't reply. "You sold her something sacred. She chose. That matters." The reflection smiled. "You don't get to decide what matters anymore." Then it cracked down the center. And behind the broken glass, something stepped forward. Not human. Not a father. But something she'd called anyway. And now it wanted its turn. The sky was bruised purple by the time Nia reached the edge of the city. She didn't know where she was going, just that she had to keep moving. Daniel was gone. The warehouse was compromised. Remington was changed, maybe dead. The men in black hadn't followed her, but their silence was worse than shouting. She kept expecting footsteps behind her, headlights sweeping up, a voice calling her name in a way that made her skin crawl. Instead, the streets were just empty. Too empty. The coin in her pocket had gone cold. The number she'd called haunted her. You weren't done yet. Nia ducked into an alley beside an old gas station. The lights inside flickered behind locked glass, but the place looked long abandoned. She climbed the chain-link fence in the back, tore a hole in her jeans on the way down, and found an old metal shed wedged between dumpsters. It was enough. She curled up inside, music box clutched tight to her chest, and stared at the ceiling. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Not from cold. From something deeper. She'd felt it growing all day. Like something was watching her through the cracks in the world. Like the choice she made wasn't just between Daniel and the others. Something else had been there. Waiting. And now it was awake. Back at the warehouse, the smoke had cleared. The walls were still standing, but nothing else was. The men who'd chased Daniel were gone. Not dead. Not injured. Gone. Like they'd never been there. Daniel stood in the center of the floor, blood dripping from his knuckles. He held one hand over the silver sphere, now blackened. Cracked. Whatever power had lived inside it had burned out. His chest rose and fell slowly. He wasn't breathing hard. He wasn't breathing at all. Because he wasn't built for fear. He was built for her. But something had changed. When he touched the object, he'd seen it. The place where the others came from. The ones like him. The ones bound by old deals and older names. And something new had answered. Not a builder. Not a soldier. Not a teacher. Not even a father. But something that fed on the act of choosing. It had been watching Nia since the beginning. And now it was coming. Daniel straightened. Picked up the hammer again. Tucked the broken sphere into his jacket. Then he turned toward the road. And walked into the night. Nia jolted awake sometime after 2 a.m. Something was scratching. Not inside the shed. Outside it. She sat up, heart banging. The scraping stopped. Silence. Then, a voice. Deep, calm. Close. Nia. She froze. The voice wasn't her uncle's. Wasn't Daniel's. Wasn't anyone she knew. It was too smooth. Too sure of itself. She crawled to the crack in the door. And there he was. A tall man in a black coat. His face was pale, clean-shaven, too symmetrical. His eyes looked silver in the dark. He stood with one hand behind his back, like he was waiting for a student to behave. "Who are you?" she asked. The man smiled. "I'm the one you meant to choose." Nia's throat dried up. "You weren't in the cards. You don't remember drawing me. But I was there." She backed away from the door. "I didn't pick you. But you wanted a father, Nia. A real one. One that knew how to handle people like your uncle. One who wouldn't just protect you, he'd punish them." "No," she whispered. "I didn't ask for that. You felt it." His voice sharpened. "You imagined what it would be like. You dreamed it, Nia. And that's all I needed." She shook her head. "Remington said only 3. He lied." The man stepped closer to the shed door. "You think this was about finding love?" he asked. "No, Nia. This was about finding need. And yours ran deeper than anyone knew. You didn't just want someone to stay. You wanted someone to take away the fear. Forever." "I changed my mind," she snapped. "I chose Daniel." "And I waited," he said. Because I knew it wouldn't be enough. He opened his hand. Something inside glowed red. She recognized it instantly. The piece of her old family photo. The part with her mother's face, burned at the edges. How did you get that? I was there, he said. Before she died. Before you knew the world was already making trades in your name. He dropped the paper. It turned to ash before it hit the ground. I'm not afraid of you, she said. He smiled. You should be. And with that, he disappeared. Just blinked out of the world like he'd never been real. But she knew he was. Because the fear didn't leave with him. It stayed. It curled up inside her chest and whispered one word over and over. Mine. The next morning, Daniel found her walking along the train tracks with the music box in one hand and the coin in the other. You okay? He asked. She looked up. No. He nodded. Me neither. They sat together for a long time. No talking. Then she asked the question. What was he? Daniel didn't pretend not to understand. I don't know, he said. But he wasn't one of us. He wasn't summoned. He was invited. By who? Daniel looked at her. You. She clenched her fists. I didn't mean to. Doesn't matter, he said. He's here now. So what do we do? Daniel reached into his coat. Pulled out the burned sphere. We finish this. Nia stared at it. How? Daniel looked down the tracks. Toward where the city darkened into forest. Where the place between places lived. The same way we started. He stood. Together. And behind them, far away, the man in the black coat watched. Waiting. Smiling. Because no matter what she said, she had already chosen him. Even if she didn't know it yet. Nia didn't speak much as they walked. Daniel led the way down the tracks, hammer on his back, the burned sphere tucked in a canvas pouch. The train yard faded behind them. The city softened into trees. Streetlights disappeared. Pavement gave way to cracked earth and roots. You said we finish this, she said finally. But I don't even know what this is. Daniel slowed. It's a story. A dangerous one. Mine? Yes. And someone else's. She stopped walking. What does that mean? He turned. Looked her in the eyes. You think this started with you? You think you're the only kid who ever asked for something they didn't understand? She stayed quiet. This has happened before, he said. Remington built the store because he couldn't undo what he'd seen. He thought if he gave people choices, they wouldn't make the same mistake he did. What mistake? He made a deal. A long time ago. With something that looked like a man. Tall. Pale. Always smiling. Nia went cold. You mean the one who came to me? Daniel nodded. He's not a father. He's a collector. He waits for children who ask for things with too much hunger. He gives them what they think they want. And then he takes what he wants. What does he want from me? Daniel hesitated. Then, to finish the deal your mother started. Nia's blood ran cold. My mom never. She did. When you were still in her arms. He opened the pouch. Inside was the music box. It had changed. The wood looked older now. Blackened at the corners. The name carved into it was still hers, but deeper, like someone had gone over it again and again until it bled. This isn't just a keepsake, Daniel said. It's a lock. A lock on what? Your life. Your choices. And right now, that lock is cracking. Nia felt the panic crawl up her spine. So what do we do? Daniel looked toward the trees. We go to where the deal was made. The forest was too quiet. The kind of silence that wasn't empty, it was watching. Birds didn't call. Leaves didn't rustle. Even the wind pulled back like it didn't want to be there. They found the clearing just before dusk. At its center was a stone table, half swallowed by moss. Around it, 12 broken pillars stood like teeth. I don't like this, Nia whispered. You shouldn't, Daniel said. He stepped into the circle. Nia followed. The second her foot touched the grass, the world changed. The air grew thick. Time slowed. And the man in the black coat appeared across the clearing. He was smiling. Hello again. Daniel stepped in front of Nia. Back off. But the man didn't move. I never took a step forward, he said, amused. She brought herself here. She was a kid when this started, Daniel growled. Children make the most permanent promises, the man replied. Nia moved to Daniel's side. What deal did my mom make? The man smiled wider. She asked to never be alone again. She asked for her daughter to always be protected. And I said yes. That doesn't sound like a curse, she said. It isn't, he said. Unless you try to run. He raised one hand. And the broken pillars ignited with pale blue flame. Nia gasped. I've waited long enough, the man said. You made your choice, but not the final one. I already picked Daniel, she snapped. The man's eyes gleamed. And that was a lovely practice run. Daniel stepped forward. She's not choosing you. But the man ignored him. His attention was on Nia now, like nothing else existed. You want safety. You want someone to make the pain stop. You want power over what hurt you. No, she said. I just want to live. And I can give you that, he whispered. Not survive. Live. No more fear. No more running. I can erase what was done to you. Every bruise. Every tear. All gone. Nia trembled. He took a step forward. Daniel shouted, "Don't listen." But the voice was in her now. Behind her eyes. He can make it stop. He can make you strong. She squeezed her fists shut. Felt the coin in one hand. The box in the other. Then she saw it. Her mother. Just for a second. Standing at the edge of the clearing. Her eyes weren't scared. They weren't even sad. They were full of apology. She mouthed something. Nia couldn't hear it. So she did the only thing that made sense. She opened the box. And threw the coin inside. A sound cracked the air. Like the world being unzipped. The man's face changed. No longer calm. No longer smiling. What did you do? The flames on the pillars vanished. The ground split beneath his feet. Nia shouted, "I refuse you." He roared. But Daniel was already pulling her back. The clearing collapsed in on itself. Stone. Flame. Sky. Gone. When Nia opened her eyes, they were back on the train tracks. The sun was rising. Daniel sat beside her. The box was closed again. The coin was gone. And so was the man. She sat up slowly. Daniel watched her. "Well? I think I broke it," she said. "No," he said gently. "You chose." She looked at him. "Are you still here because of that?" "I'm here because you let me stay." And finally, for the first time in her life, Nia let herself believe it. That her choices mattered. That she wasn't broken. That she could build something out of the pieces. She stood. "I want to go back." "Where?" "To the store," she said. "There's work to do." And behind her, as they walked toward the rising sun, the road was quiet. But not empty. Because somewhere, in the deep places between choices and regrets, something still waited. Something with 1,000 names. And Nia? She had one more left to say. But not yet. The store was still there. Barely. Smoke stains stretched like claw marks up the stone walls. The windows had shattered, leaving sharp, gaping holes where reflections used to play. The oak door had been kicked off its hinges. The Remington nameplate lay cracked in half on the ground, as if the building itself had given up trying to protect it. But it stood. Nia approached it slowly. One hand hovered over the music box, which she now wore on a string around her neck. Her fingers twitched like they were waiting for something to strike out at her. Daniel walked beside her, silent. Inside, the smell of burned wood and wet ash hit hard. Shelves were toppled. Artifacts lay scattered, some broken, others humming faintly with whatever magic held them together. The snow globe still sat on the counter, but now the lightning inside it was silent. Nia stepped over a cracked tile and whispered, "Remington?" No answer. They moved through the wreckage. The side room with the wooden box was blackened beyond recognition. The stairs had collapsed halfway, and the second floor now sagged like a spine with its back broken. Then a voice called from the far end of the store. "Here." Daniel stepped in front of Nia without hesitation. They followed the sound. In the far back, behind a velvet curtain that hadn't burned, behind a locked panel Daniel had to pry open, they found Remington. Alive. Barely. He sat slumped in a high-back chair, his vest torn, one sleeve missing. A white bandage wrapped around his side, soaked with brown red. His cane leaned against the wall beside him, untouched. "You're back," he said, and coughed. "You're alive," Nia replied, stunned. "More or less," he muttered. She stepped forward. "I thought he got you." "He tried," Remington said, eyes narrowing. "But I've danced with that one before." She hesitated. "The man in the coat?" He nodded. "He's not a man." "Not really. He's what's left when a child makes a wish that bleeds." Nia's stomach turned. "Why didn't you tell me he was real?" Remington smiled thinly. "Would you have believed me?" "I would have tried." Daniel looked around. "How much of this can be fixed?" Remington's eyes flicked to him. "All of it. If the right hands build it back." Nia stepped closer. "I want to help," she said. Remington studied her face for a long time. "You still want to buy a dad?" he asked. She smiled sadly. "No. I want to keep the one I picked." Daniel looked down, quiet. Remington looked at them both. "Then you'll need more than a builder. You'll need to be one." "I know," Nia said. "Teach me." Remington leaned back. "There's a cost." "There's always a cost," she said. "But it's mine now." The room pulsed. Something in the wall sighed, like the store itself had been waiting to hear those words. Remington nodded once. Then reached into his coat and pulled out a thin piece of wood, black as night, carved with strange letters. He held it out. "First rule of building," he said. "You don't just repair what's broken. You understand why it broke." Nia took the wood. It was warm in her hand. And it fit. Like it had been waiting for her since before she was born. That night, they didn't sleep. They worked. Daniel reset the shelves. Nia swept glass and ash from the floor. Remington walked slowly, pointing out what needed to be remade and what had to be buried. Together, they patched the heart of the store. It didn't look like it had before. It looked better. Realer. And when morning came, the front door stood fixed. No locks. Just a sign that read, "What you ask for matters. So ask carefully." Later, as the sun hit the glass again, Nia stood in the center of the store. Daniel handed her a new nameplate. It gleamed in the light. She read it out loud. Nia M. Remington, apprentice. Middle name? Daniel asked, grinning. She shrugged. Might stand for made it. Then she turned serious. "Do you think he's really gone?" she asked. Daniel glanced toward the shadows near the ceiling. "No. But he's not coming back soon," Remington added. "You closed the door on him." Nia looked down at her hands. "What if I didn't close it all the way?" "You'll know if he comes knocking again," Remington said. "And? You won't answer." She smiled. And for the first time since the day she walked in and asked to buy a dad, Nia felt something settle in her chest. Not safety. Not yet. But something better. Belonging. She looked at Daniel. He looked back. No contracts. No conditions. Just presence. The kind that builds something piece by piece, even when everything else wants to tear it down. Nia reached for a pen. Behind the counter, beside the nameplate, she wrote 4 small words on a new slip of paper. Then she placed it on the counter for the next girl who might come through the door scared and alone. The note read, "You can choose better." And beneath it, her number. Just in case. Just in case someone else needed help building a way out. It didn't take long for someone to knock. 3 days after the store reopened, just past midnight, a light rain tapped the windows. Nia had been sweeping the back room when she heard it, 3 hard knocks, slow and spaced too evenly. Not urgent. Not panicked. Measured. Daniel looked up from where he was sanding a new countertop. He didn't say anything. Just met her eyes. Nia nodded. "I've got it." The front room felt strange again. Not dangerous, just expectant, like the air was holding its breath. She stepped toward the door and opened it. A boy stood on the porch. Younger than her, maybe 11. Brown skin, hair buzzed short, hoodie zipped all the way to his chin. He was soaked from the rain. His shoes were too big, like someone else's. His backpack hung off one shoulder, nearly empty. He didn't say anything. Just looked at her. "You okay?" Nia asked. He looked past her, into the store. "I saw the sign," he said. His voice was small, but not timid. "I heard you can find things." Nia nodded once. "Sometimes." The boy shifted his weight. "I want to buy a mom." The words hit her like a slap of cold water. She felt her knees almost give. The exact echo of her own voice, weeks ago. The same edge of hope buried under the sound of breaking. She opened the door wider. "Come inside." His name was Ty. Tyrell, technically, but he didn't like saying it. He sat on the edge of a velvet stool near the old piano while Nia made cocoa in the back with Daniel. The shop was quiet, warm, full of low light and the smell of lemon polish and old wood. "Think he's ready?" Daniel asked. "No one's ever ready," Nia replied. "But he showed up. That counts for something." Daniel handed her the mug. "You sure you're okay doing this?" "I have to be." She looked toward the front room. "If he came to us, it means no one else listened." When she brought Ty the cocoa, he didn't drink right away. Instead, he asked, "Is it true? That you picked a dad from in here?" Nia sat across from him. "Yeah." "What was it like?" She didn't sugarcoat it. "It was hard. It was scary. I got it wrong before I got it right." Ty stared into the mug. "How do I know who to pick?" "You don't," she said. "But that's not the point. It's not about being right. It's about knowing what you really need." He didn't speak for a long time. Then, quietly, "She left me." "Your mom?" He nodded. "Told me she was going to get a job across the state. Said I'd be staying with her cousin a few weeks. That was 7 months ago." Nia felt a cold fury rise. One she'd known too well. "You didn't deserve that," she said. "I know," he whispered. "But I still want her. Or, someone." "You want someone who wants you." He looked up. She reached into the drawer beneath the counter. Pulled out a long black box. It had no lock. No latch. Just wait. She placed it on the counter. "This is yours," she said. Ty stepped forward. "It's your turn to choose." He opened the box. Inside, the cards. Names. No pictures. Just symbols and silence and possibility. He looked up at her, eyes wide. Which one's safe? Nia thought of Daniel. Solomon. Malcolm. Of the man in the coat. Of her mother. No one's safe, she said gently. But that doesn't mean they'll hurt you. Sometimes, the right one just fits. He hovered his hand over the deck. Then pulled 3 cards. Leona, the gardener. Maris, the singer. Auntie June. Nia raised an eyebrow. Auntie June? Tai smiled a little. She sounds like she already knows me. Nia chuckled. She might. Then her face grew serious. You'll meet them. One at a time. One per day. And I pick one? You choose you. The rest happens after. That night, as the store locked up again, Nia stood with Daniel near the back window. Did I do the right thing? She asked. Daniel leaned beside her. You gave him something you never had. Nia nodded. But what if the man in the coat comes back? He will. And this time he'll try something new. Yeah. Nia turned to Daniel. But I'm not scared. He looked at her, proud. Good. I just don't want to be alone again, she said softly. You won't be, Daniel said. Even if I mess up? Especially if you mess up. She smiled. The store was quiet now. The boy was asleep in the guest room. The shelves were stocked again, but not full. Not yet. Because more were coming. Kids like her. Kids with holes inside. Kids who had asked the world for something and were told, no. But this place, this strange, crooked, broken lovely place, could offer something else. Not a miracle. Not a fix. But a chance. A chance to choose better. To build better. And Nia? She would be here when the next knock came. Because no one should have to buy a family. But if they had to choose one, she'd help them choose right. Even if it broke her all over again. Tai met Leona, the gardener, first. She didn't walk into the store, she grew into it. Nia didn't see the moment she arrived, only that 1 minute the air was still, and the next it was full of warm soil and lilac. Leona stood near the window where the light came through strongest. Her skin was deep brown, her hands large and calloused. She wore a green apron over a long skirt and had a soft scarf wrapped around her head, curls spilling from underneath like vines breaking through stone. When she looked at Tai, she didn't smile right away. She knelt. Let me see your hands, she said. Tai hesitated, then held them out. She turned them over gently, like they were fragile leaves. These are good hands, she said. You've used them. You've built things, haven't you? Tai nodded. I fix my cousin's fan. And I carve little animals with a box cutter. Sometimes. That's enough. She stood. You're growing something. Even when no one told you how. They spent the day together in the back courtyard, what used to be a junk space behind the store, half-burned and abandoned. Leona asked Tai what he thought should grow there. He said, things that come back. So they planted marigolds, rosemary, and a fig tree. She taught him how to prune carefully. How to spot rot. How to know when to pull something out before it kills everything else around it. Not everything broken can be saved, she told him. But almost everything can be changed. That night, Nia asked Tai how he felt. I liked her, he said. She reminded me of my grandma. But? He shrugged. I don't know. It was peaceful. But quiet. Too quiet, maybe. Nia nodded. We've still got 2 more. The next morning, Maris, the singer, arrived. They heard her before they saw her. A hum. Rising up from under the floorboards. Sweet and sharp, like honey and teeth. Then she stepped through the door barefoot, in a dress the color of rain. Her hair flowed like water. Her voice poured out of her in verses Tai didn't understand, but felt all the way to his bones. Whoa, he whispered. Maris stopped singing and winked. You got good ears, little lion. He blushed. They spent the day in the front room. She showed him how to twist sounds into shapes, how to whistle a memory and sing a lie so well it felt like truth. She taught him to listen for the note inside a person that told you who they really were. Tai tried to hum. It came out rough. She didn't laugh. Good. Now do it again. Softer. By sunset, he was whispering a tune that made Nia stop what she was doing and just feel. That night, Tai sat on the floor beside the piano, hugging his knees. She was magic, he said. But? Nia asked. She made everything feel better. But like a song you love that ends too soon. Nia knew that feeling too well. You've still got 1 more, she said. Auntie June arrived on the 3rd day. And she brought groceries. She walked in like she owned the place, wearing house slippers and a faded yellow hoodie that said mind yours. Her eyes were tired, her smile crooked, her voice low like she'd smoked every truth she ever told. Which one of you is the boy? She asked. Tai raised his hand slowly. She looked him over once. You hungry? He nodded fast. Good. Go wash your hands. She moved through the store like she'd been there her whole life. She turned on the kettle without asking. Pulled out spices from her purse. Made grilled cheese and soup on the hot plate in the back room. When Ty came back, she handed him a bowl. Eat. Then talk. Ty didn't ask questions. He ate. Afterward, she handed him a notepad. Write down 5 things that scare you. He blinked. Why? Because if you can name them, I can teach you how to punch at least 2 of them in the throat. Nia watched from the doorway. She hadn't said a word to Auntie June. But the woman glanced her way and said, You drinking water, girl? You look dry as a prayer in a fire. Nia choked on a laugh. I'm good. Aha. Sit your bones down anyway. Y'all kids think rest is a reward. It's not. It's a damn requirement. That night, Ty didn't talk much. He just sat on his cot in the guest room, flipping through the notepad she left him. Nia knocked once. You okay? He nodded. She's different. Yeah. She made me laugh. That's important. She made me mad too. Sometimes that's more important. He looked up at her. I don't know how to choose. You're not supposed to know, Nia said. You're supposed to feel. So what if I choose wrong? Then we deal with it. Together. The next morning, Ty made his choice. He stood in the center of the store, barefoot, hands in his pockets. Leona sat by the window, planting seeds in tea tins. Maris lounged on the piano bench, humming. Auntie June had just pulled a pie from somewhere no one remembered her bringing in. I pick, Ty said, and paused. All 3 turned to him. He swallowed. Auntie June. Maris bowed her head. Smart boy. Leona smiled, wiped her hands on her apron, and stood. Good roots. June didn't move. She just said, told y'all. Then, without a word, the other 2 walked toward the door. Nia followed them. You okay? She asked quietly. Leona nodded. He'll grow fine. Maris kissed her on the forehead. Watch the shadows. They like children with hearts that burn slow. And then they were gone. Just like that. Nia turned back to the store. June was sitting on the stool, legs crossed, sipping coffee. Ty stood beside her. He looked at Nia. I didn't mess it up, right? She smiled. No. You built something. Daniel came in from the back, eyes tired, arms covered in dust. He glanced around. Then smiled. Store's still standing. For now, Nia said. Then we keep going. That night, after Ty was asleep, Nia sat on the front steps alone. The city stretched out below, quiet and silver in the moonlight. Daniel joined her, a blanket draped over his shoulder. You did good, he said. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. No one does. Then how do we keep doing it? He thought about that. Then answered. You remember what it felt like before you walked through that door? She nodded. Like drowning. Then you keep building boats. She leaned against him. I'm scared he'll come back, she whispered. The man in the coat? She nodded. Daniel looked up at the stars. He might. And if he does? Daniel turned to her. You've got an army now. And inside the store, something flickered. A heartbeat. Not Remington's. Not magic. Something new. The beginning of a different kind of power. Not a father. Not a god. But a girl who learned to build what the world refused to give. And she wasn't done yet. The next letter came 2 days later. It was slipped under the store's front door sometime before dawn. No one saw who left it. No one heard a sound. Nia found it folded neatly, a single piece of parchment with her name written in perfect block letters. No address. No return name. Just, Nia M. Remington, confidential. She read it alone in the back room. Dear Nia. You've made progress. I'm pleased. But you and I both know nothing stays quiet forever. You've opened doors you don't understand. And now, something older than me is watching. Let this be a gift. One warning. Check the basement. Check the ledger. Then decide. Do you want to be a savior, or a key? Yours, the one who waits. She read it 3 times. Then a 4th. Daniel noticed something was wrong the second she stepped out of the back room. You're pale. She handed him the letter. He read it in silence. His jaw clenched. The basement, he said. Of course. Nia looked toward the hallway where the floor still bowed slightly, even after all their repairs. We never opened it. Because Remington told us not to. Well, she said, he's not the boss anymore. Daniel grabbed a lantern. Nia grabbed her hammer. Together, they walked down. The basement wasn't just dusty, it was wrong. The moment the door opened, the air shifted. Cold rushed out like breath from a tomb. The stairs groaned beneath them. The light barely reached the bottom. As they stepped down, the smell hit them. Not death. Not mildew. But memory. That strange mix of chalk, old books, ink, and skin oil. Like 1,000 pages had been read down here and none of them happy. At the base of the stairs was a wide stone room. No furniture. No tools. Just one object, centered in the space. A ledger. Resting on a stand made of dark, twisted metal. Too many arms holding it up. Nia approached it slowly. The ledger was enormous, bound in black leather, and sealed with a metal clasp. A symbol she recognized was burned into the front. Her own name. She touched it. The clasp unlatched with a hiss. Daniel stepped beside her. Wait. But it was already open. The pages flipped on their own. Line after line of names scrawled across ancient parchment. Next to each, a date, a request, and a result. Nia scanned for hers. She found it near the end. Name, Nia Remington, née Simmons. Request, a father who stays. Cost, choice. Status, fulfilled, pending counterclaim. She blinked. Counterclaim? Daniel's voice was low. Someone else laid a claim on you before you ever walked into the store. Nia swallowed hard. The man in the coat? Maybe. Or something bigger. She turned the page. There, in red ink, was a new line. Counterclaimant, unknown. Object of interest, emotional bond equals anchor key. Intent, activation at breaking point. Her hands trembled. Anchor key, she whispered. Daniel touched the edge of the page. Nia, they're not after you. What? They're after who you could unlock. Nia stepped back. No, I didn't agree to this. I just wanted someone to stay. I didn't sign up to be a key to anything. Daniel's jaw tightened. But the way you asked, it opened something. You meant it. That's all it takes. She turned, breathing fast. What does that mean? That I'm cursed? No, he said softly. It means you're important. That's worse. She started back up the stairs. By the time they returned to the store, the sky had darkened again, too soon. Clouds gathered, not natural. The air was heavy, like the earth itself was holding its breath. Auntie June stood at the front window, arms crossed, eyes hard. You feel it? She asked without turning. Nia nodded. Yeah. Something's coming. Ty stepped into the room, a half-drawn card in his hand. The deck started shuffling by itself. That had never happened before. Nia walked over. Let me see it. He handed her the card. It was blank. No name. No symbol. Just a smear of something dark where the ink should have been. Auntie June muttered, that's not good. Daniel pulled out the ledger again. There's one more name. At the very bottom. They gathered around as he turned the final page. It was blank, until ink started bleeding into the paper. A name appeared, written slowly, as if someone else's hand guided it. Claimant, the father of none. Location, breach point unknown. Status, in progress. Next target, Remington, Nia M. The store shuddered. Light bulbs flickered. The temperature dropped 10 degrees in a breath. Then the doorbell rang. Not once. Not 3 times. Just one single, long chime. Nia turned toward it. I thought we closed that door, she said. Daniel moved in front of her. We did. Auntie June pulled something from her hoodie, a knife that glowed with a dull red edge. Then someone's knocking from the wrong side. Nia looked at Ty. You stay behind me, okay? But Ty stepped up beside her instead. I'm part of this too, he said. She didn't argue. The store was quiet now. Waiting. The door creaked open on its own. And there, on the porch, stood the man in the coat. Only now. He wasn't alone. Behind him, the air rippled. And more figures stepped forward. All coat and shadow. No faces. No names. Only need. Only hunger. They weren't after her anymore. They were after everyone who'd ever chosen wrong. And Nia? She was the last one standing between them and all the ones who still might. She took a deep breath. Lifted the hammer. And stepped forward. You want a key, she said. Come earn it. The store braced itself. The walls creaked, wood groaning like it remembered fire and didn't trust the world not to burn it again. Every item on the shelves, enchanted or ordinary, hummed with something just shy of fear. Nia stood at the threshold. One girl. One hammer. Between the things that waited behind her and the things that wanted to come through. The man in the coat didn't speak. He didn't need to. He just watched. Like he was waiting for her to open the door wider. She didn't. Instead, she stepped onto the porch. Behind her, Daniel followed. Then Auntie June. Then Ty. His hands were shaking, but his feet didn't stop moving. The figures behind the man in the coat flickered, shapes that had no edges, only longing. They moved like the air broke around them. Children's outlines. Faces built from wants. Not real, but still dangerous. Echoes of every choice made in desperation. They don't belong here, Nia said. The man smiled. You opened the door. I didn't walk in uninvited. I opened it for a father, she said. Not for you. Not for them. They are fathers, he replied. Mothers. Wishes. Promises. Regrets. He took a step forward. They're the ones no one picked. Daniel stepped beside her. You want pity? I want balance, the man said, voice sharp. For every child given a second chance, another is left behind. That ledger of yours? It doesn't account for what it costs when one heart is chosen and another is discarded. They weren't real, Auntie June said. They were possibilities. They were loved, even for a moment. And then they were forgotten. He looked at Nia again. But not by me. The porch shuddered under them. They've grown teeth in the dark, he said. And now, they've come to collect. Nia felt it in her chest. A crack, faint but real. The kind that starts not in the bones, but in the belief that you're strong enough to hold the world upright. I didn't mean to hurt them, she said. I know, he whispered. But intent doesn't erase damage. Behind him, one of the figures lurched forward. A shadow in the shape of Malcolm. But his face was hollow. His voice, when it came, was broken glass. You said I made you feel seen. Nia gasped. Daniel grabbed her arm. It's not him. Just a reflection. But more came. Solomon stepped from the dark. His uniform shredded. I would have bled for you. Then Leona. Then Maris. All of them twisted. Each one a thread of love pulled too hard. Each one unfinished. You gave me hope, Maris sang, her voice full of sorrow. Then you turned the music off. Nia stepped back. They weren't supposed to feel. They did, the man said. He looked almost kind now. You think choosing ends the story. But every choice creates a scar in what wasn't chosen. And those scars grew into mouths. He raised a hand. The store behind them groaned, a sound like it was being bent backward. They're not here to punish you, Nia. They're here to ask the same question you once did. His voice dropped to a whisper. Can we still belong? Nia's hammer dropped an inch in her hand. She felt the weight of it. The weight of everything. And then, Ty stepped forward. His voice was quiet. Isn't that what this place is for? Everyone turned. Ty looked at the shadows. At the not-quite people. At the broken versions of love. He didn't flinch. I know what it's like to be left behind, he said. And I know what it's like to get a second chance. And yeah, that makes a kind of pain I can't explain. He looked at Nia. Then Daniel. Then the man in the coat. But that pain doesn't get to eat the world. The man's eyes narrowed. Ty turned to the shadows. You want a place, he said. Then help build one. Stop haunting people. Start helping them. For a second, nothing moved. Then Malcolm's shadow stepped forward. His voice was quieter now. Even if we're not picked? Nia raised her chin. Stepped beside Ty. Especially then. She looked at the man in the coat. I can't undo what I did. But I can offer them what I was given. A way forward. The store behind them pulsed once. Lights flared. Something ancient shifted. The man in the coat looked amused. Almost proud. You'll break yourself, trying to save them all. Nia shrugged. Better than breaking alone. He stepped back. The figures faded behind him. Into mist. Into night. Some left pieces behind, a note, a name, a soft scent of song. And then. He bowed. You're becoming more than I ever expected, he said. A shame, really. Then he vanished. No explosion. No scream. Just absence. Weeks passed. Then months. The store changed again. Not in shape, but in spirit. A new room opened, small, off to the side. No doors. Just a hallway lined with blank shelves. Above it, a hand-painted sign. The room for the unchosen. Inside, the voices that had once haunted Nia began to find home. Not to be picked. Not to be loved by force. But to be heard. Nia trained others now. She and Daniel taught the power of asking better questions. Ty took over inventory, wrote his own rules. And sometimes, just before the store closed each night, Auntie June would leave a cup of tea by the window. Just in case the man in the coat ever walked by again. And wanted to know what mercy tastes like. One night, alone in the garden, Nia opened the music box again. The melody still played. Still off-key. Still beautiful. She looked at the stars. And for the first time in her life, she whispered not a wish, but a truth. I didn't buy a dad, she said. I built a family. She smiled. And the music played on.